Hey guys, so I don't know about you, but I like to not read. So you should probably check out our sponsor for this episode, Audible. You're going to get a 30-day free trial, an Audible original on us for 30 days. 30 whole days, man. That's awesome. Go to audibletrial.com/YAGS. That is YAGS for Yet Another Geek Show. Hello, welcome back to Yet Another Geek Show, where all the planets collided, and somehow your power trio is all back together. I'm your host, Alex Ecker.
I'm your host, Dalton Munnell.
And I'm your host, Josh Keir. How's it going, guys?
Man,
Josh,
it feels like we haven't been together, like, in a conversation in, like, almost a month.
That's because that's true. It has been very close to a month.
We all kind of had, like, our vacation at the same time. Dalton's computer broke, and the episodes got postponed for a week. It's been a mess.
But now all is right with the world.
And then Alex and I went on a movie spotlighting marathon that is not complete.
Yeah,
That is
we
still
still got
going,
a couple
so.
more.
If you want, I can hang up and you two can get back to it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. See you next
That was,
Josh,
that was yet another
stay
Geek
here.
Show Weekly so-and-so.
Josh, he beats me when you're not looking.
There's a lot of time I'm not looking, man. I'm sorry. It's pretty rough.
All right, Josh, what have you been up to without
goodness.
us?
Oh, well, I went on a very nice vacation. Oh, but you're talking about nerdy shit. Right. Well,
Yeah.
actually,
Cabins are nerdy.
Vacations are nerdy.
I don't. I guess there are things that are less nerdy than hiking, but I can definitely think of things that are more nerdy than it.
True.
That being said, if anybody's looking for a nice place to get away in the mountains for a week, I could not recommend Gatlinburg, Tennessee more. It's like the third time I've gone on a family vacation there. Every time
I'm going to edit out the word more there.
That's what I was thinking. Just like I
could
can't
not
recommend this place.
I gotta learn to guard what I'm saying so that you can't just make me say whatever you want. Probably really bad. You've probably got a big repository of just like a Josh soundboard in your bedroom where you can just go and make me say whatever you want.
Why is it in my bedroom?
Where else would you want to hear the sound of my voice, Dalton?
I mean,
Add it to the board.
I guess it is. I guess the question was just how did you know, really?
Yeah.
It's exactly where I would put it.
Yeah.
As for nerdy shit?
How else am I supposed to fall asleep?
As for nerdy shit,
Dalton and I share the same bedroom, I assume. Anyways, go on.
You don't know for sure?
No, we don't.
I assume that we do, but I've never seen him in it, so I can only guess.
How do you know that you and I don't share a bedroom, Josh?
I don't know. Has anybody ever seen both of us in the same place?
Yes, Dalton.
For like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it happened. Don't know how.
Shit, I guess we're different people then.
Debunked.
All right,
Go
we've been back for 5 minutes and we're already taking a turn for the weird.
Right?
I'm gonna start talking about some more normal shit. So, I've bought way too many games during this most recent Steam sale. I've been playing through a few of them. Actually, just right now, before we started recording, finished what I actually think has ended up being my most favorite game that I've played from the sale so far.
Ooh.
I just beat Katana Zero.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Okay, well, let me sell you guys on this game real quick. It is a kind of like neo-noir cyberpunk like samurai assassin game in the vein of like Hotline Miami. It's a real like 80s dystopian cyberpunk like sci-fi aesthetic.
Hold up. What was this game called again? I think I might actually have it on my wish list.
Katana Zero. Let you check that real quick.
Go on. It's cool.
All right.
I do have it in my wish list, yeah.
Okay, this game
I have seen this game.
This game is fucking dope, and I'll tell you why. So the main gist of the game is that you are a dude with a samurai sword in this cyberpunk dystopian city, and every day you are given a mission for somebody else to kill. And the mechanics of the game are pretty simple. It's a 2D platforming type game where you can run, you can jump, you can slash your sword, you can dodge roll, and you can do a move where you hold down the left trigger and you slow down the flow of time. You can see you have a sword. Not everybody you're fighting does. It's the future, and most of them have guns because they're not idiots.
So Samurai Jack rated M.
Oh yes, very much so rated M. Because you are a badass future samurai, with the help of your time-slowing powers, you can slash at bullets in midair to deflect them and send them back into the people that shot them. This is a game that demands perfection from you, because not you die in one hit, but so does everybody that you're fighting. So you'll oftentimes be tasked to like navigate through a series of rooms. There could be anywhere from like 4 to like 20 dudes in what is basically the next like segment of the stage that you will have to eliminate all of them before you're able to move on to the next stage. But it's you die in one hit, but you can instantly hit a button and retry the same screen. So it's very much trial and error. The scene will basically reset completely, and you can kind of decide if you just messed up your execution or if you want to approach it from a different angle. Towards the end of the game, it kind of started to feel more like a puzzle game than an action game, because the game was just throwing so many things at you. You were trying to figure out what the best plan of attack was for, okay, I'm gonna like kick in the door to this room, pick up a bottle, throw it at this guy, then jump up and attack through the floor to hit this guy, to grab the Molotov cocktail, to chuck it at the barrel of oil that'll explode in a chain reaction and take out 7 more dudes, and then I have to like dodge roll under the Gatling gun to get behind it and kill the guy operating it.
The pacing you're describing reminds me of Super Meat Boy or 10 Second Ninja, where they make it excruciating, but it's fine that it's excruciating because you just lose a few seconds and then try it again. It's no big deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's exciting to me.
There were some points towards the end of the game where it would take me like a couple dozen tries to get a room down. But what I thought was brilliant about the game was that it never felt frustrating to me. It just felt like, oh, damn, I was off by like a hair on this one attack, and I just always just wanted to press that button and immediately like get right back into it.
Okay.
So this is not actually a very long game. My playthrough that I finished cut out at just shy of 5 hours. Now there's a hard mode and a speedrunning mode that I unlocked that I haven't had the chance to screw around with yet, and there are a few secrets to like unlock during the game. I don't know if they unlock different levels. I've heard that there's a secret boss that you can get if you find some secrets and things like that. So I don't know whether or not the length of the game might be off-putting to people. I think the game's like $15 normally. I got it for $11 on the sale, which I think is perfectly acceptable for 5 hours of content. And I haven't even touched on my favorite part of this game yet, because while the gameplay is really fun and addictive, I actually really found myself drawn into the story of this game. And it's really hard to articulate why without giving too much away. So I'll just say that Katana Zero does what I think the video games whose stories intrigue me the most, almost all of them have this in common, in that they find a way to tie the game mechanics into the narrative. So without giving too much away, there's a reason that you have the ability to slow down time, and it's not because you're just real fucking cool ass samurai boy. And I won't go too much further into it. However, I will say that this will probably be familiar to anybody that likes cyberpunk stuff, but this is very much a dystopian game. It's very bleak. There's a lot of murder, obviously, but not just the murder that you're doing. And there's a lot of like, rampant drug use, corruption. Everything's really bleak. Like if you ever watched any movie about a shithole future that was like from the 80s, this game takes place in all of them. And the soundtrack's phenomenal. It's basically the same sound. It's basically it's very synth heavy, like the Stranger Things soundtrack. It's like if the guy that did the Stranger Things soundtrack did like 4 lines of cocaine and then did it again. That's the Katana Zero soundtrack. It's just straight bangers the whole way through. And if I talk about this any longer, you guys could have just played through the entire game. So I'm going to cut that off now with saying that this game kind of came out of nowhere and blew me away, and I think is sitting solidly at number 2 on my favorite games that I've played this year list right now.
All right, Josh, you made an excellent sales pitch. I'm also going to publicly shame you and say I think you're playing with a soda can and your mic's picking it up and I can't edit it out.
Fuck, I am.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was Dalton or not. And I'm like, where is that noise coming from?
I was trying to figure out which of you it was, and then I saw your hands. So
I fidget a lot with my hands.
You seen my hands? Were you trying to catch these hands?
It's all right. I had to publicly shame myself last week for recording with the same the wrong microphone.
Well, there
a couple
we go.
spotlights
we
ago.
all make mistakes.
I'm glad that I publicly shamed myself anyways. So no one else has to.
It's different when it's a kink, but Alex, what do you got?
Well, Josh kind of pointed out Stranger Things, and I know you guys are watching it. I finished it like within the first 2 days. Brief synopsis, I liked season 1 for what it did. I liked season 2 because it wasn't a repeat of season 1. It had character development. Season 3 is both of them, and I fucking love it. It is so good. Had me laughing a lot. Almost made me cry.
I'm about halfway through it, and it's definitely the funniest season.
It's the best season, personally. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of good things in it. It somehow manages to be super dark and also super lighthearted at the same time, which a lot of shows kind of overshoot a lot of the time. So, I'm not going to say too much about it because there's a chance that since you guys are both watching it, we might as well just try and spotlight it.
Yeah, I haven't actually even started the season yet, but I plan on doing that immediately. So
there's only 8 episodes. So,
Alex, until you said it, I didn't even know it was out because I don't open Netflix anymore because I can't stand their interface with the automatically playing video previews.
I hate that about Netflix too.
Yeah, so
Me
I'm
too.
turning this into a Netflix rant. Don't get me wrong, every streaming service has a terrible interface between Prime and Netflix and Hulu and HBO and Funimation and Crunchyroll, and all of their interfaces are garbage. But
Not wrong.
Netflix with the auto playing videos takes the cake for me.
sorry, there was a spider on me.
Please leave that in the show, Dalton.
Speaking of which, Spider-Man Far From Home.
Hey,
Thanks.
Hey.
I don't know where he went, and I'm kind of scared. He was a little tiny guy, though.
So, Spider-Man Far From Home did my boy Mysterio and my boy Jake Gyllenhaal right. And it's another one of those things where, this universe starts out pretty tame for a comic book adaptation. And then every few movies, you're like, man, they pushed it another bar. And don't get me wrong, they've, all the cosmic stuff has been more ridiculous than Mysterio. But for a Spider-Man movie, Mysterio is really pushing the bounds of ridiculousness. And it's totally fine. And they actually, they kind of make a point of it in the movie that, man, after the snapping, or they call it the blip in universe, but after the snapping, man, people will believe anything. And that's a plot point. And you'll believe Mysterio, as ridiculous as he is.
Really?
So it's hard to figure out if this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I haven't watched 2 in a very long time, and it's impossible to compare any of them to Spider-Verse, but I'm very satisfied with what we got here. And when we discussed Endgame, I was saying, maybe they should just cut it off here. It really is a perfect ending. But I don't know. I enjoyed Spider-Man here so much that I'm like, no, that was silly. Give me more solo stories. It's fine if we don't get another event that feels like a universe ending. We can still carry on the individuals. Highly recommend.
All right.
Yeah.
I was super planning on watching that movie. In fact, I still, because spoiler alert, we were going to probably spotlight this movie. I still think we should. I just had a hitch in my plans when I went to go see it. That's all.
Is it really a spoiler if it didn't happen and never will?
Well, I'm going to convince Dalton off air. I'll get you, boy.
That's like the opposite of a spoiler.
The opposite of a spoiler. What is that? A freshener?
When episode 9 comes out, I'm going to go spoiling all of Reddit on things that didn't happen.
Yeah. like spoiler alert, there's still water in the Titanic's pool.
I'm just all over Reddit. I'm going to be like, Han Solo doesn't die. So during my little vacation, I took my Switch and I played a game that, Alex, I said last week, I wanted Josh to be here. I've been waiting to hear this. Because I know you're both familiar with it, but I don't know if Josh has played it or not. I played Final Fantasy 1. Uno.
Final Fantasy 1.
Okay. Yeah.
Have either of you?
I have. Yes.
What version of it?
I played
the NES.
The Game Boy Advance remake on the Dawn of Souls collection. I also have played the original NES version up to a point, but only a couple hours through.
Sure.
Yeah. I kind of did the same thing that Josh did. But, I mean, wasn't Dawn of Souls a GBA game?
It was. It had Final Fantasy 1 and 2 on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the Final Fantasy 1 on there was significantly better. Mm-hmm. I have a phone. I emulate Game Boy games on it, and I picked that up.
And so it was hard to figure out which version of the game to play because, plenty of Final Fantasy games have been remade. And when a game has multiple versions, I'm usually it's like a couple distinct different versions. Like if you're going to play Crash Bandicoot, you just go, oh, am I going to play this original or am I going to play the remake? And obviously you're going to play the remake. So bad example.
Yeah.
But unlike, say, 3 and 4 that got remade for the DS and then a bunch of ports were based off of that, where it went from 2D to 3D, there was no dramatic change where 1 and 2 went from 2D to 3D. It just keeps getting slightly better looking with each rendition as it went from the NES to the PS1. There was something else before the PS1 to the GBA to the PSP. It just looks, it's incremental changes each time. And so I couldn't say, oh, am I playing the original or the remake? I had to figure out exactly which version am I going to play. And I played the GBA version. I wish I would have played the PS1 version just because it has a better sound chip.
Yeah.
The soundtrack works better for that console. But I did try the Nintendo version for just a few hours before I switched over, just because I wanted to make sure I actually knew what that version was like. I wanted to really understand and appreciate the changes they made. And boy, I don't recommend anyone play the Nintendo version.
Nah.
I don't really recommend playing Final Fantasy 1 in general outside of if you have a hobbyist's interest in seeing the origins of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
The only way that I got through that game at all was because I was playing it on an emulator that I could speed up through the random battles and speed up the grinding. Being able to do all that at 5 times speed made the game bearable.
Yeah, well, and so I did the same thing. I was playing on an emulator on my Switch and was able to speed up to help myself get through the grind. The grind is a lot more lenient, though, in the GBA version than it was in the NES version. I'll give it that.
Definitely is, but it's still not great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the game is. I hesitate to call it bare bones because it was the originator of all of these RPG tropes that have built off of it. But
it's the first one with the side-by-side view, right?
Yeah, I think all the games before that used the Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest, you're in first person looking dead on at the monster. So, that's an innovation that we take for granted nowadays. And basically all of Final Fantasy 1 is innovations that don't look as good in hindsight because everything that built off of it did it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And so that NES version, it's as innovative as it was at the time. It's hideous to look at. The grind is bad, just not aged well in general. So much of it doesn't work. There was one programmer on the whole game that I don't know if just certain features weren't, described to him in time to get it done, but there's a ton of magic that just doesn't work or does the opposite of what it says it does, that sort of thing. So I recommend any version but that one. A lot of people recommend the PSP version, which has technically improved graphics, but to me, the graphics were made a little too good to the point of not feeling like the original intention anymore. Like it almost surpassed the point of being sprite art, which isn't quite what I wanted. The only praise I could give to the original NES is that I like the original version of the soundtrack. So if you look up Final Fantasy I's soundtrack on Spotify, you'll get an original version and a PS1 version. And all of them after the PS1 are based on the PS1 despite a different sound chip, and it added percussion and more layers to the harmony and whatnot. But there's a lot of charm to the original that I'll still listen to it, even though I'll never play through it the whole way. As for my experience actually playing through it, I mean, yeah, it's dated, it's bare bones, it's far from the first RPG I'm going to recommend, but I enjoyed it enough that I wasn't upset pushing my way through it. There was still enough charm in it for me to be worthwhile.
I think you're saying that because you were able to go through battles at 5 times speed.
It helps.
Yeah.
Trust me, if you try to play it without that, you will get burnt out very quickly.
Yeah.
It's from a different era where the developers had to make you grind to pad out the length of the game so you felt like you were getting your money's worth out of it.
Sure. Not a very long game without the grind. I also, not that I'm gonna make this my real discussion time for it, but I started Final Fantasy II afterwards, and man, there's a lot of changes in there I wasn't aware of. That game is not like other Final Fantasies.
Yeah,
I assumed it would be nearly identical to one because they're always packaged together.
No, it's actually really weird. That entire era, the second game in every series was wildly different from the first.
See, I never played 2.
Zelda to Zelda 2, Mario Brothers to American Mario Brothers 2, even Fire Emblem 1 to the second game was a completely different change. And I mean, even Metroid to Metroid 2, which was on the Game Boy, went from a Metroidvania to a straight up just action game on the Game Boy, the original Game Boy. It's really weird saying Game Boy and not putting an adjective at the end of it. Right. The Game Boy Normal. But and Final Fantasy 2 is wildly different from Final Fantasy 1. It's I don't know. I guess it's because the rules hadn't been written at that point in the gaming industry, that everybody was just, people had a lot less reservations about just wildly changing things just because.
Yeah, absolutely.
That being said, 2 is one of the only Final Fantasy games that I have not played. I'm running through the list in my mind. I think the only games that I haven't played are 2, 5, and 12. MMOs notwithstanding, because I don't count them.
Yeah. Man,
You
that
know-
just made me go back and try and figure out how many Final Fantasies I've played, and I can tell you it's not that many.
It might be a year before I've experienced enough of it to dedicate an actual discussion time to it, but I also started 11. And
You started 11.
oh boy.
Final Fantasy 14 exists and is really good, and you played 11. You decided to play 11 instead?
I've played a bit of 14 and I like it a lot. My concern, though, is that MMOs disappear from existence, and I want to play it before it does. I don't know if that game disappears in 3 years or in 15 years, but I don't want to have a day where I realize, man, a Final Fantasy game just fell off the face of the earth and I didn't experience it.
Yeah, it is going to be really weird in like 20 years when there are 2 numbered titles in the Final Fantasy series that are completely unplayable, except if some fan is running like some illegal fan server.
Yeah.
And
Well,
to
if it
be
makes you
fair,
feel any
I'm
better,
pretty sure
I
it
did
has
that with
those now.
Dragon Ball, because there was that Dragon Ball MMO that came out a few years back. It ran for like 3 years, and now it's gone, and
Yeah.
most of the elements turned into Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting discussion eventually. But boy, that game's, I'm assuming, being an MMO with years and years of expansions is going to be hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
We'll see if I
people
actually
even still
brave my way
playing that
through it.
game? Like, do you see other people when you're online? It's
I
like
picked out-
15 years old at this point, isn't it?
I think 17. I picked out a server that was recommended as being particularly well populated still. But I'm still in like basic training areas, so I think I'm only really seeing other beginners.
Sure.
So yeah, we'll see how long I can brave my way through that. Apparently they are working on a mobile port that's built from the ground up.
Huh.
Probably would have been in my best interest to wait for that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I went ham on old school RuneScape when that came out on mobile last summer, so I'd probably do it again for a different MMO.
You know, I meant to ask, that was actually only earlier this year that came out, and you guys both talked about it the week it came out. Did you
Was
guys
that
keep
episode
playing
0
that
or
at
was
all?
that episode 1?
Oh, I don't know if that was, I don't know if the audience heard that or not.
Yeah, I
I
don't
was
know.
curious to ask if either of you kept going.
No.
Nah.
No, it's a nice thing to come back to, like maybe after like a year. When you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, RuneScape used to be sweet.
Yeah.
And then you open it and you're like, oh fuck, what did I do?
You just needed that few hour injection of
Yeah.
nostalgia.
I just needed to chop
got your
trees
hit.
for like 20 hours, and I got
Yeah.
it out of my system for this year.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all I did too, was just
In
chop
like 6
trees.
months from now, I'll be like, I never finished my set of rune armor, and I'll get back on it for a little bit.
Yep.
You know, when I played
exactly
that
it,
game in
too.
its heyday, all I really remember about it is chopping down trees.
That's because that's
Chopping
the
down
entire
trees
game.
and starting fires, man. Just a constant line of fire.
It's Lumberjack Simulator 2007.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Oh, also there's goblins and spiders. What town was that? Lumbridge?
Lumbridge. Yep.
There was just this one spot where you could just farm everything. Money, goblins, power, like you could just power up your attacks and everything. Why leave that spot ever? I don't know.
No reason at all.
All right, Josh,
Exactly.
you got anything else?
Yeah, so last night I finished the Amazon Prime Video series for Good Omens.
How is that? We've been wanting to watch that, my wife and I.
I would really recommend it. It was great.
Okay.
So are you familiar? Are you familiar with it, Dalton?
I've never read it. I've seen who's in the cast and I know who wrote the book, and so I'm interested on those grounds.
That was
I
the
don't
only
really know
exposure I had going into it as well. So for the listeners, this is an adaptation of a book by Terry Pratchett of Discworld fame and Neil Gaiman, starring some guy who I can never remember his name, and David Tennant. Michael Sheen, that's his name. I should remember his name because he was fantastic in it. The basic premise is that Sheen and Tennant are respectively an angel and a demon that basically are both working against their respective sides to prevent Armageddon from happening because they both love the world so much. This is it's a really campy series. So if you don't like campy stuff, it might not be for you. But it's right up my alley because I love that shit and I eat it all up.
Same.
So
you weren't going to get anything serious out of Terry Pratchett.
No. Well, it's interesting because I've read a number of Discworld books, and Pratchett has this knack for being really silly and irreverent while also telling like really human and poignant stories. And there are elements of that. There are elements of that in Good Omens as well. If you are a fan of the Discworld franchise, even though this isn't part of it, things will be right up your alley. And there actually are some references. There are some references to really Pratchett and also David Tennant. There are so many Doctor Who references just like sprinkled in the background. At one point there's a character who's driving a car and the license plate is just TARDIS backwards. There's little things like that. But Tennant is fantastic as the demon character. He's actually the serpent who tempted Adam with the apple in the Garden of Eden, as well as a bunch of other characters throughout history. My favorite episode was one where there's kind of an extended cold open where it tracks the angel and demon characters basically like throughout history from almost the dawn of time, and like little blips of them interacting throughout history until you get to present day, where they start off, hating each other because they're on opposite sides, and then they're fighting each other for thousands of years, and then they realize that all of the work that they do, they cancel each other out. So Tennant's character says, well, why don't we just stop doing the work and saying we did it, and we can just go off and do whatever and cover for each other. Because the net positive on the world is the net positive of like good and evil on the world is the same. Mm-hmm. And they're both like, yeah, okay. And they get this begrudging friendship from out of that, and it kind of like follows that over the years, and eventually they're fighting the end of the world together. There's a lot of other characters. The plot heavily centers around finding the Antichrist, whose like birthday is coming up that will mark the start of Armageddon. And it sounds really serious, but it's not. It's really funny and silly and just incredibly silly. But I really enjoyed this show. It's really short. It's 6 episodes long, so it's really bingeable. And I'd highly recommend it. It was really fun.
And I'm glad Netflix did the right thing and canceled future seasons.
Yeah, I'm really glad that Netflix is not making any more of it. Although I'm just really sad that it had to be counteracted with Amazon canceling Stranger Things.
Since we're talking about shows being canceled now, I finished season 14 of Supernatural. Season 15 is going to be the last one.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard
that. How long has the show been going on? For 14 years now?
It's usually what 14 seasons means, yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Unless they took a hiatus.
Because I think it started in 2005. I think it was when it started.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool because I started the show a few years back and just kept watching. I'm excited for the final season at the same time as I'm hating it. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, the final scene of the last episode of season 14, they played one song during the scene, and the title of the song, the sound and everything went perfectly with it. And I've kind of started to go and listen to Motorhead now because of it. It was God Was Never on Your Side by Motorhead.
You mean the Tony Hawk games didn't get you listening to Motorhead?
Well, yes, Tony Hawk had it. But I wasn't a big fan of the Tony Hawk games, dude. I was a nerd and played RPGs and JRPGs.
Dude, I was too, but I will kick your ass in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
You had a PS1
Oh, yeah, I
for
believe
the
it.
wrong reasons, man.
Tony Hawk's Potato 2.
I mean, it's
Anyways.
just a fact that if you played Tony
Oh,
Hawk
yeah.
games in the early 2000s, you're into ska now.
Is that what you're into now, Josh?
I mean, I have been known to dabble in some Streetlight Manifesto from time to time.
I was seriously
Whoa.
about to say, Josh, is that a Streetlight Manifesto poster behind you, I see?
Dude, I have one.
Oh, that's funny.
I have
No,
a t-shirt
I-
too. I saw them live. It was fucking amazing.
Good.
Was it really?
Oh yeah.
Is it bad that I don't know who they are?
Yeah, you should.
I mean, they're
look them
better
up.
than Motorhead.
Ooh, lost some
Sick
fans
burn.
there. Thanks, man. Including
You
me.
should look them up after the show.
Yeah, I'm probably going to. I've been going on this musical journey lately. Like, I missed out on a lot of things that people really liked because I was just the fucking 7 strings and metal and you know, if it isn't Suicide Silence, it's not the greatest thing in the world. You know, even though I didn't like Suicide Silence, I was more of a Chelsea Grin fan. But same band. Let's be fair.
Pretty much.
Back then, it was the same band.
Yeah.
So like I had a coworker who got me into like Thundercat, which I've been showing you, Dalton, you know, every now and again. So yeah, you never know. I might actually give this band a shot. You just have to message me on Discord what it is after the episode.
Cool. What about the show, though?
Yeah, let's get back to the show. I don't want to. Well, I was trying to give the hint of it because the name of the song is "God Was Never on Your Side," and that's all I've got to say about that.
Oh, that's a plot point.
Yeah. Somehow they managed to work it in, and
Okay. Speaking of music as a plot point,
I recommend Supernatural, by the way. Watch it. If I've watched 14 seasons, you should too.
I watched one season. I watched season 1 of Supernatural, and it was okay. I just never got into it enough to continue watching.
Do me a favor, Josh. Watch it.
I was hoping the rest of that sentence was "eat a dick."
That too.
It's a tall.
It's
order.
watch it. It's watch it or eat a dick, and that can also be a tall order depending.
Hey.
All right. Speaking of music as a plot
If you're
point,
listening
Josh,
to the
have you
podcast,
watched?
You can't hear me dabbing, but trust me, I'm doing it.
I just
it.
dabbed with you. It's all good.
I heard that dab. Josh, have you watched the newest season of Black Mirror?
I have not. I completely missed the fact that it came out until actually today, earlier at work. So it's really uncanny to me that you're talking about it right now.
Is it for the
Funny.
same reason that you don't open Netflix anymore because of that interface?
Yeah, I never do.
I actually watched some of this season.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I
Miley
didn't watch-
Cyrus was in this one.
Yep.
Well, and that's the episode I was referring to because Nine Inch Nails is a plot point.
Nice.
It was a baffling experience, but I guess we'll talk about that after you watch it.
Okay, that's fair.
So let's not go with that.
Yeah.
Josh, have you watched the newest season of The Good Place?
Has it started?
No, well, no, I just finished 3. I'm referring to
season 3. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I just finished 3, and if you
Okay.
hadn't finished it, I was going to wait for you. Apparently, season 4 is the final season, right?
Is that
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. I'm not going to double check it, though.
I kind of like that because I feel like if it goes on for much longer, it's going to overstay its welcome.
I like that, too, because season 3, while still greatly entertaining for me, little off the rails. They kind of lost a lot of restraint, and Alex is going to sound an awful lot like a spotlight we just did, but they kind of took away all their storytelling limitations and screw it, it's magic, anything can happen. And it just started feeling less, I don't know, less personal and less motivated and less guided and just a little too crazy for its own good. So yeah,
I agree.
I'm kind of glad
I enjoyed
season 4 is the last
3.
one.
I enjoyed season 3, but it definitely was the weakest of the 3, in my opinion, and it was for a lot of the reasons you said there. However, I just gotta mention the Janet episode real quick, and just talk about how amazing of an episode that was.
It was.
I can never remember her actress's name, but she deserves all the awards.
Yeah, You know what? I saw her in something I talked about on this show and forgot to mention it.
Is this the main girl in the show?
No, she's definitely a side character. Also,
So I was gonna say, isn't that Kristen Bell that I'm thinking of?
Yeah, the main character is Kirsten Bell. Kristen?
Yeah.
I can never remember.
I think it's Kristen. I think
Yeah,
it's Kristen. She also played Lucy in Assassin's Creed.
She's done a lot of things.
yeah,
Was it Lucy? I can't remember.
Anyway,
I'm trying to think Assassin's Creed. Sorry, guys. I'm throwing you off.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the show, so I'm not really commenting too much.
Darcy Carden, that's her name. I looked it up.
Okay.
I don't know what else she's in.
Whatever else she's in, she's a highlight in that show, and I know I saw her in something else recently that's slipping my mind. Also, Josh, Chidi was just in Midsummer, which Alex and I are about to spotlight shortly.
Fantastic.
In any case, I'm still excited for season 4. Season 3 was still good enough, but it did start going downhill, and so I think it's in our best interest that they're starting to come up with a planned ending right now, and
Yeah, there's
kill it
only
off before
so
it
many
sinks too
times that they can reset everything back to a slightly different status quo and start over before I start to feel fatigued about it. And it was definitely like midway through season 3 where I was like, really, are we doing this again? Can't we just move forward? But it's where the show has written itself into.
yeah, hopefully they manage to avoid, hopefully they just get rid of that plot device as a whole in season 4 and just let it be a complete season of character development.
Yeah, I have no doubts that they could wrap everything up satisfyingly with one more season, as long as they don't waste any episodes on things that aren't endgame at this point.
Yeah.
And you should watch The Good Place, Alex.
I know. Well, the thing is you guys totally ruined the first 2 seasons.
The first season. Yeah, that's true. That was the conversation that had to be had. I'm sorry.
You actually can't talk about The Good Place and not it was
Without the season 1 ending.
It was so hard listening to you talk about the show when you just started, Dalton.
Well,
but Alex, season 2 is actually better than 1, so it's still worth it.
To be fair, you guys just ruined the second season too.
I don't think so.
Josh just said, how many times can you restart?
You don't really know what that means.
I don't really know, but I kind of know.
Now, here's the thing with The Good Place. For all 3 seasons, you think you know what's going to happen, and you never are right.
I want to call it the most
my
unpredictable show I've ever seen, but I did predict the ending of season 1, so.
But you didn't believe it would be true.
Right. That's true.
Sounds a lot like my life, guys. I think I know what's going on, but then I don't.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Guys.
Holy shit.
Guys, I read a book.
What?
You did a thing?
None of us have read a book all year. I don't know why Audible sponsors us.
Right.
Because we don't
Dalton.
read books.
Audible.com
is the place to not read books.
Oh, guys, we've been listening to books this whole time. We just never talk about them.
That's YAGS for yet another geek show.
All right, guys.
Okay,
I
so
read.
What book did you read?
I read Stormfront, the first book of the Dresden Files.
Ooh.
Oh, we did talk about this before, didn't
you-
we? Josh, didn't you bring this one up?
Probably
No,
not,
Alex.
because I've never read any Dresden books, even though I've been interested in the franchise for a while.
Alex, I mentioned this to you during our Hereditary podcast because it was an example of doing right what I thought that movie did wrong.
Gotcha. Okay.
Josh, I was complaining in our Hereditary episode that
You should go watch it, Josh.
That story,
or listen to it instead.
that story relied on supernatural elements that didn't need to be there because it was a compelling story without it. Alex asked if I just in general dislike the supernatural in storytelling, and I said no. I'm about to talk about the Dresden Files where they did it right. So the Dresden Files is a story where our lead character is a detective and a wizard. So it is a supernatural story, However,
He's a what?
However, they place really strict limitations on what wizards are actually capable of. Our main character also isn't the greatest wizard in the world. And so what this means is we can incorporate supernatural elements without having this negative where, oh, just literally anything can happen. Because if literally anything can happen, I lose interest in your story because I feel like you lose... I feel like you lose a lot of the work in writing when you give yourself way too many open possibilities. There's just got to be some restrictions in there where you got to say, no, magic works this way. Demons work this way. And so that immediately really excited me about the book. It was really clear early on, like he's making a potion for something or other, and he describes, well, in magic you need 4 ingredients in a potion, and this one is going to make this happen, and so forth. It's a modern day story that gets away with kind of a noir vibe with the excuse that wizards can't interact with electronics. Electronics just break down when they try to use them, even to the extent of cars. So it's like a reoccurring story element that like he owns a car and it's like the simplest car he could possibly own, and it still regularly breaks down and needs fixed.
That's funny though.
Yeah. That said, I enjoyed it a lot, but I'm told it's going to keep getting better and more eventful as I keep going with the series. And yeah, this one definitely feels like a start. It feels like, now that the character is properly introduced and the world is properly introduced, they can, with book 2, hit the ground running a little more and do a little more with the idea and impress me a little more. And I haven't been reading a whole lot lately, but I'm actually already halfway through that second book, so maybe I'll be talking about it next week. Highly recommend.
I wonder if these books are available to listen to on audible.com.
Where I did not listen to it. Sorry, Amazon.
Yeah. Where if you pay us, we might listen to it.
Keep sponsoring us.
Please. We like having a sponsor.
Josh, you got anything else?
Other than the fact that I just looked up the Dresden Files on Audible, and they are in fact there. So,
yeah, definitely use that link we give you. Listen to it. I'm sure it'll take less than 30 days.
Holy crap. How many books are in this series?
It's like 12, 13.
Okay, I think they've got all of them because there's I'm just looking books after books.
Yeah.
Well, this one
books for days.
This one is literally called
hopefully
book 12,
enough for
so I guess there's
under 30 days.
Yeah, a bunch of comics with in between stories too.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know you and I had touched base on Final Fantasy VII. Dalton, jumping off of the book train and sponsorship deal. I'm now officially getting invested in the story.
Oh, are we just going to talk about Final Fantasy VII every week on this show now? Because I'm fine with that.
I haven't gotten updates from you guys on Final Fantasy VII in a while, so
I'm still
all right
almost through.
I'm all right with retitling the show yet another Final Fantasy VII show, and
only if I can talk about Sekiro after we're done.
Yet another Final Fantasy VII episode died twice.
Finals Fantasy 7 times.
Died 7 times.
That was bad.
Because they're shadows. Yeah. We'll play out something. I don't know. But once the Josh, you've beaten the game, correct?
Yes.
I have never. Dalton, have you? I can't remember. Okay, you've never. When they started getting, and it's your favorite piece of media.
Yes, my great shame.
Yeah,
my emotional inability to finish the story I've been experiencing literally every year of my life. Yes.
But you replay it every year and you've never finished it?
Close to every year, maybe every other year, but yeah, I've been playing it
at least once. We've played it together.
Since at least the year 2000. I've been playing it and repeatedly starting it over, and yeah, I've probably been through that Midgar portion 15, 20 times.
I actually have a fonder memory of you and I, Dalton, in your mom's basement, independently playing the game at the same time on our laptops. And like getting a walkthrough on like one of our phones. Oh, that was funny. I remember that. But yeah, once they started talking about Zach Like I finally like got to the point where what is it? Gongaga, where Zach's hometown is, and like you meet his parents. And yeah, I really got invested right there. Cut.
I'm gonna have to. Josh, I don't know if you can hear us.
Dalton, screen cap it. Screen cap it.
Shit. Oh, I think we lost him.
Oh no. Oh no. Hurry. Wait. If this gets into the episode, what's going on is we all have webcams. Okay? And we think we just lost Josh, and his face is frozen in the funniest position possible. Dalton, I don't know if this should make the cut or not. Oh, they just lost internet.
Oh no.
Oh no. Well, Josh is trying to fix that internet.
All right, let's not hit stop and give him a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll give him a few moments. Okay.
Hey,
you're back.
Am I back?
You're back.
Did you get the picture, Josh?
What picture?
Josh, this has to be your photo on Discord.
In this direct message.
Well,
this is what we saw the whole time you were gone.
You know, I thought this was a great episode until right now, where all of this shit went off the rails. I guess.
Yeah.
It's actually happened a couple times during this episode, but this one was the funniest.
Yeah, if you've seen us chuckling and not been sure why.
That was why, is because your internet froze up.
Yeah. Josh, are you still recording? Because we're still recording.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still recording.
All right.
Oh,
excellent.
awesome.
Okay, that makes it easier for me to edit later.
Okay. We're going to leave that all in.
At least half of that. All right.
Yeah, if
And
you
we're
want to
back.
see the funny, if you want to see the funny photo, go to our Discord and we'll post it there for you to laugh at and enjoy. Sorry, Josh, but we're gonna laugh at your shame.
Yeah.
Just gonna
All right,
angrily
continue.
eat this quesadilla.
That's cool. It's all good with us. But what was I saying?
Final Fantasy VII.
Correct. Okay. It wasn't until they started getting to like the Zack portions that I really started getting invested. It's maybe because I was invested in that character.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I'm really kind of excited to see how, like, it's one of those things like where you're with a group of friends and you have something in your teeth and it's like super embarrassing, but nobody wants to tell you, and they're all looking around like, so is someone gonna tell them?
Right.
Is there someone gonna tell them what happened? Except is someone gonna tell them that his entire life is a lie?
You've got somebody else's
man.
life in your teeth. Cloud.
Yeah.
Josh, for some extra context here, the last time we talked about this without you here, Alex wasn't feeling the story yet. He wasn't feeling the game. He didn't get it. He said he was going to persevere, but that he wasn't getting attached to it the way he felt he should. So it seems like that's improved.
Yeah, it went from appreciating to being invested, which I'm kind of happy with.
Cool.
But yeah, oh hey, Dalton, since we've name dropped Final Fantasy VII at least a few times now, there's a game we should name drop right now and bitch at you about.
Bro, I've been playing it the whole time.
What game is it?
I took a week vacation.
Say it.
It's already been said once.
Say it, you dirty man.
Say it twice.
Or die twice.
I'm still playing Sekiro. I put very good time into it, but I took a week vacation, and that's why it's not done yet.
No.
I'm making excellent progress on it.
You told me that you restarted the entire game because you decided that you weren't doing it in the story's correct order.
That's not quite it. I'm not having this conversation. We're not having another Sekiro spotlight right now.
In Discord.
That was not really
Press
the
F
reason.
to pay respects to Dalton because he's about to die twice.
I'm way further in the game than I was the first time.
It's really funny because if we ever get to a spotlight for this game, we've said so much that we're just going to start the episode and I'm just going to be like, shit's lit, fam, and that's going to be the end of the episode.
Yeah, this game sucks. We'll just like cut and paste all the segments from every episode. Just put it in. Oh, goodness.
All right, guys, I'm going to do one more real segment before we go. That's not Sekiro. I mentioned before that John Wick had a VR game, and I picked that up on the Steam sale, John Wick Chronicles.
Stealing that from you.
Yeah. Kind of mixed feelings here. Probably more good than bad. So this game, you are John Wick, and it starts out with you in the Continental. You're given an earpiece, and you're communicated to through that earpiece and told what to do. And it ends up being yet another VR wave shooter, which is kind of the problem.
Is that another branch of our show?
But it is a really good VR wave shooter. I mean, the gunplay, not that I know anything about guns, but feels satisfying to me. It makes you feel like enough of a badass. You're kind of you're attacked from all directions, and you have to be pretty smart about it. Like, you can kind of move around like objects that'll help shield you. You know, if you feel like the enemies are typically getting you from this direction, then you can kind of place an obstacle to help protect yourself from there. There's a segment though where honestly I might give up just because I suck at it. You're kind of on a rooftop and you're being sniped at from the other rooftops, but people are also coming at you from the rooftop you're on, where the sniper rifle is obviously not so useful. And so you keep having to juggle between grabbing the sniper rifle, carefully targeting the people at the other buildings, and then double checking over your shoulder to see if people are coming at you from right behind you, and then dropping that weapon and switching to the handgun. Or you can grab some grenades and pull the pin with your teeth and throw it, and that feels badass. But at the end of that level, you end up having to take down a freaking helicopter, and it feels intense and it feels satisfying. I also suck at it, and that's the second level, and I think there's only 3. I don't know if I'll end up finishing it or not. Maybe I'll end up finishing it when I go wireless, because a lot of it is just you spin so much because it's coming at you from every direction. You're also sitting on the floor because you're crouching behind barriers constantly, and I feel like I need the freedom of wireless to actually get through this.
Oh, hey Dalton, here's something really interesting. As you're talking, I was looking up stuff about this game, and somebody said that right before you get to this particular spot, the one you're talking about, there's an option where you get to watch your dog die and you become invincible.
I can't tell if you're joking or not.
Good.
I'll keep that in mind. I'm sure.
No.
Oh, you know what? That does make me have to point out something really weird about it. A plot point of it is you being in a room in the Continental where you are then shown the trailer for John Wick 2.
What?
Just on a giant projector screen inside the Continental. Yeah. I don't really want to consider the continuity implications of that.
I haven't seen John Wick 2.
I guess John Wick is a movie star that makes movies about him in the John Wick universe. I guess that's what that implies.
So he plays a dude on TV who he is really that dude. It's like Dog the Bounty Hunter, or like or it's a TV show about what he does in real life.
Yeah, John Wick 2 is a reality show inside an actual movie universe. Yeah.
It's wild.
Apparently, I never knew. That said, if you look at this game on Steam, it has really mixed reviews, and I think most of that's just the length. It's yet again another VR game that costs too much for the amount of content. You get more content out of it if you suck like I do. It is what it is. Buy it on sale. Buy it when it's like $5, and I don't think you'll be upset about it. We just lost Josh yet again, so I think we're gonna call it quits right about here.
Get a photo of it, and it's going on Discord too.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone.
Take care, guys.
hate you guys. Okay, I guess I'm done too now.